Hey, it's Anthony from the Beta Network here, and in today's video, we'll be doing something a little special to send off the year, counting down our top 10 games of 2021. Oh yeah. But first things first, if your favorite game isn't on this list, it's most likely because we didn't review it, or we probably just ran out of slots, one of the two. Oh, and we won't be including remasters for obvious reasons. First time releases in the West and major console ports are fair game, however. By the way, did you know our team had literal fistfights about the order? It was pretty wild. Seriously though, it was actually quite tough to narrow down the list, as there were some absolute stunners this year. So be sure to let us know in the comments what your favourite games of 2021 were. Nevertheless, fellow TBN members Sam and Dylan will be tag teaming it with me throughout the video, in case you get sick of my voice. But without any further ado, let's jump right into it with number 10. Now, what list would this be without mentioning one of the most iconic gaming experiences of 2021? It Takes Two has so many unique set pieces and varied game mechanics going on that it's virtually impossible to get bored of. In fact, game director Joseph Fares went on record saying, "I could literally give $1,000 to anyone that says, 'Oh, I'm tired of this game now because it doesn't surprise me.' $1,000, I guarantee." How's that for confidence? It's hard to argue with that statement because It Takes Two is such a blast to play through with friends. I've personally beaten the game 3 times with 3 different people, and I'm more than keen to do it all over again. Possibly 5 more times, minimum. But what keeps this platformer-focused adventure so fresh and exciting is that it never rests on its laurels. It Takes Two just loves throwing different things at you, whether that be a Diablo-esque dungeon crawler sequence, a third-person shooter section, or a 2D 1v1 fight against a Skrull army chief. Yes, that actually happens. The game is constantly keeping you in suspense. The controls are also top-notch. Each new mechanic is super simple to pick up and play, and just feels so intuitive overall. There's almost this childlike wonder of discovering what's around the corner in It Takes Two, and being able to journey through it all with a friend is pure entertainment. Bonus points if your co-op partner likes to muck around and make life difficult for you. Not looking at anyone in particular. But all in all, even though It Takes Two has a pretty forgettable story and characters, everything else about this title is genuinely epic.
Green Hell is an absolutely brutal survival sim that wastes no time kicking you in the teeth. Practically everything is trying to take you down. Whether it be piranhas, jaguars, leeches, skin infections, or just straight up hallucinations, you'll need all your Bear Grylls expertise to handle the dangers of the wild. Even though this game is punishingly difficult, the learning process and general gameplay are highly addictive, really playing into the finer details of a survival sim, right down to crafting each frame of your hut brick by brick, or by individually inspecting your limbs to treat any rashes or lesions on your character's body. There's also multiple difficulties if you're finding the game a little too hard, along with a tourist mode, which shifts the focus purely onto crafting, construction, and exploration. No matter which option you pick though, Green Hell delivers a standout survival experience that fans of the forest or the long dark will surely love. Couple that with a mysterious yet intriguing story that you can complete entirely in 4-player co-op, and Green Hell becomes one mammoth of an adventure.
There's always something so special about playing through a new Resident Evil for the first time, and with RE Village, it's no different. While the game's spooky atmosphere does opt for a mesh of more mainstream styles, as opposed to the grittier tones of its predecessor, Resident Evil Village still stands out as a shining example of true survival horror. And how a fandom can become so obsessed with a certain 9-foot-tall woman. Do you remember how many step on me mummy memes there were? Far out, you guys are hilarious. All jokes aside, this game has so much content packed in for Resident Evil fans. From the elaborate boss encounters to the smart puzzle designs, mercenaries mode, and umbrella-soaked lore, there's something for everyone to enjoy here. I especially love the throwbacks to previous entries in the series, specifically with Resident Evil 4. Not just in the aesthetic and "what are you buying" quote, but how you can purchase similar firearms and explosives, which you can further customize, adding an extra layer of strategy into the mix. The story and what Umbrella's up to this time around are also quite intriguing for Resident Evil standards. And guys, Ethan Winters isn't as bad of a character as some people might lead you to believe. I think he acts exactly as a normal person would in his situation, and the voiceover from Todd Sully portrays that really well. He's not a boulder-punching superhero like Cris, so it makes sense he's a little whiny and confused a lot. Heck, I'm sure I'd be complaining every 5 seconds too. Speaking of Cris though, Capcom, give us more in the DLC. That is all.
Where do I even start when talking about Forza Horizon 5? The lush locales of Mexico look gorgeous, the racing and accessibility controls are amazing, and the numerous game modes on offer will keep players entertained for hours on end. Events Lab in particular is one of the highlights of the show. Being able to construct and test out community-made creations like the appropriately named Bowling in the Deep, where you have to knock down giant bowling pins, is way too much fun. It's also never been easier to set up multiplayer sessions with friends. From the pause menu, players can jump into any type of game mode they like, just like that. Whether it be a straight up race to the finish, the team-based Horizon arcade challenges, or a casual game of King, which is basically tag for cars, there's just so much gameplay variety packed into this 5th entry. This is the biggest map in the series too, containing 11 individual biomes and awesome looking seasonal effects like blizzards and sandstorms, really making it feel like you're in the Mexican countryside. Playground Games have clearly been listening to the critiques of Forza 4 as well, opting to focus more on dedicated drag strips and straighter highways for prolonged driving at top speed, along with a host of other improvements that would be way too much to list here. All in all, Forza Horizon 5 looks stunning and has so much quality pick-up and play content for casual and hardcore racing fans alike, making it the clear standout for Racing Game of the Year.
What is there to say about Psychonauts 2? I mean, apart from the fact that I hadn't even played a Psychonauts title till this year, what was I doing? Psychonauts 2 is incredible. Double Fine have done an amazing job in not only keeping the intuitive feel of the original Psychonauts, but building the sequel into one of the best titles of 2021. The most important thing to understand about Psychonauts is that everything has a meaning. From the enemies you battle, to the mind-bending levels, to the trippy puzzles. The engaging story takes you on a journey as Raz wishes to become a fully fledged Psychonaut. The gameplay is so epic when you factor in all the special powers, both old and new. Even if the dodging can be a bit finicky in places, it's still a marvel to control. The world design of Psychonauts 2 features some of the greatest fictional locations I have ever witnessed. The metaphorical exploration of each level design just makes you want to sit there and give the developers a standing ovation. Not to mention their bravery in tackling some seriously sensitive mental health problems in an exceptionally innovative way. The creativity of this title knows no bounds, and that alone makes Psychonauts 2 one of the top titles of 2021. Also, Jack Black is in this game, so need I say more?
For a game thought to be long left in the dust, stuck in the shadows of development hell and hardware limitations from the mid-2000s, Metroid Dread more than lives up to its name. Nintendo's Yoshio Sakamoto has been itching to explore fear-based gameplay ever since the creepy SAX monster from Metroid Fusion stared at us with its pixelated wide eyes of death. And I think he and his team, alongside Spanish developers Mercury Steam, have legitimately smashed the ball into the top corner of their goal. Samus has arguably never felt better to control too, which in turn makes the labyrinthian levels and tough as nails boss fights of Metroid Dread a joy to repeat over and over, and a few more times over again. Those tenacious Emmy robots who pursue our famous bounty hunter with such vengeance will probably give you PTSD flashbacks to that time you accidentally dropped into the shark-infested waters of Banjo-Kazooie as a kid. But it's so exciting. The game does not hold your hand at all. Although once you clear out a particularly hard boss or area, that feeling of progression and overcoming the odds is so satisfying. Following Samus's traversal through the planet ZDR and her eventual showdown with the enigmatic Raven Beak is quite the journey. You're practically guaranteed to get lost along the way. I know I did, but that just means you'll have more time to soak in the slick sci-fi atmosphere and hopefully pick up some extra health tanks and power-ups along the way. Metroid Dread is a pure love letter to the franchise, and it's easy to see the dev team's care and passion oozing out of each corridor or cramped space. They've even included a couple of sequence-breaking moments for all you speedrunners and boundary breachers out there. Well done, lads. Well done.
The year 2021 was soaked in JRPG goodness, but if there was one entry in the genre that could easily crack the top 5 of this list, it'd have to be Scarlet Nexus. Not only is the story full of intriguing moral dilemmas, emotionally charged scenes, and fascinating mysteries waiting to be uncovered, but the telekinetic combat system of Scarlet Nexus is honestly pure hype. Ever wondered if you could play out an intense fight scene from a shonen anime? Well, in Scarlet Nexus, you can do just that. Controlling either of the two lead characters, Yuito or Kasane, the player can force throw objects like a heavy barrel or even a bus into enemies, then quickly transition into sword slashes and combos, all the while borrowing special powers from teammates for some seriously high damage output. This is only scratching the surface, of course, as the amount of complexity in combat, especially in the latter parts of the game, is a little overwhelming. But it's just so satisfying to play. Bandai Namco Studios have outdone themselves here, unleashing a distinctly unique take on the Japanese action RPG genre. Did I mention that the music of this game is also spectacular? Whether it be some slow haunting piano and strings, or a fast-paced mix of rock and EDM tracks, Scarlet Nexus knows exactly how to immerse its players into the drama.
Now let's be honest here. How long have we waited for a brand new Age of Empires title? Let me answer that for you. Way too long. Age of Empires 4 is a fantastic new entry, and it never loses sight of what the Age of Empires brand stands for, even though it was made by a different development studio called Relic Entertainment. When you first boot up the game, you'll immediately notice how incredible Age of Empires 4 looks, from the menu screen to the actual gameplay. The maps are visually striking, the buildings look crisp and precise, and the new animations of buildings and areas of impact are straight up awesome. Relic Entertainment specifically went into this title with the purpose of trying to replicate the style of the early Age of Empires games, all the while making some minor, yet ultra tight, improvements along the way. For example, a major refinement was to move away from Age of Empires 3's shipping system to achieve that retro Age of Empires feel. Although the best and most important aspect of Age of Empires 4, especially for us history lovers, is the docu-mini series you get after each story mission. Not only do you get to work through well-written stories about actual events from the past, but at the end you're given some awesome 5-minute documentary videos to learn about many different aspects from history. If that doesn't get the history juices flowing, then I don't know what will.
Man, has Capcom been on a roll these last 2 years or what? Starting off in early 2019 with two of my personal favourites, Resident Evil 2 Remake and Devil May Cry 5, we now arrive at the end of 2021 with another smash hit from one of Capcom's longest running franchises, the great Ace Attorney Chronicles. This is without a doubt the best entry in the Ace Attorney series we've seen so far. The mastery of music, story, and character writing on display here is incredible, and it never lets up throughout the course of its 60-plus hour runtime. It's a shame this duology took over 6 years to release in the West, as the way each case links together and morphs into this grand tale of epic proportions, all the while handling themes of discrimination and corruption in the English and Japanese legal system is outright exceptional. The translation team at Plus Alpha nailed that Victorian-era style of speech too, tuning in each dialect of London to perfection, which adds so much to the flavour and personality of these two games. Even though the voice sections of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles are relatively sparse, you can just hear the inflections of the written dialogue jump straight out of the screen. In terms of gameplay, it doesn't stray too far from the usual Ace Attorney formula, although the devs have included these little touches that really go a long way. One particularly nifty feature is the story mode switch, where the game will auto-scroll through text and even solve puzzles for you, but the best part is that it can be turned off at any time. So if you get stuck in a tricky section for too long, you won't have to start randomly presenting evidence like a madman, or need to look up the answer on game FAQs and feel guilty about it. New and veteran Ace Attorney vets will love this feature. They'll also love tackling the dance of deduction sequences with Sherlock Sholmes, yes I said that name correctly, and comparing juror statements in the court as the protag Ryunosuke Naruhodo. But the best part about this game is that there's no outrageous logic leaps or filler cases to be found here, full stop. But even if you do manage to get stuck at some point, the story mode option will quickly resolve any obstacles in your way. But wait a minute, if the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles is number 2 on this list, what other game is left to take the top spot? Well, there is one title I can think of that fits the bill, but let's take a look at some honourable mentions first, because this was a tough list to narrow down. My most anticipated release of the year, Tales of Arise, is a classic case of almost is never enough. And I'm a Tottenham fan, so I know exactly how that feels. But considering how amazing Tales of Berseria's story was, it's disappointing that Arise couldn't reach those same heights. Pun intended. That being said, the game's action RPG combat is without a doubt some of the best we've ever seen from the genre. Each character has their own unique style, and the team-based gameplay mechanics work really, really well. Traversing through a visually stunning world full of interesting things to discover, alongside some incredible music and funny skits, makes the entire journey feel so full of life.
Death's Door turned out to be one of our favourite indie titles of the year. With its blatantly obvious Zelda and Soulsborne roots, the game is practically built for success. The challenging boss fights, smart puzzle layouts, and solid labyrinth-like design make this Little Crow's adventure hard to put down. Pun not intended. Well, this time. The art design is also a big plus. Each area feels unique and has this great balance of high and low saturation, which makes the more important elements on screen pop. Combine this with a zany cast of characters alongside an immersive, mystical soundtrack, and you've got yourself a recipe for a great Sunday afternoon. Another awesome indie hit was the time-focused JRPG Cris Tales. Following the story of our young protagonist, Cris Bell, hence the name Cris Tales, players can make use of the past, present, and future to make a big difference inside and out of battle. Want to poison an enemy in the past, then accelerate time to dish out some major damage in the present? Well, you can do just that and tons more. This time mechanic is what makes Cris Tales so intriguing and so addictive to play. The story isn't the greatest tale ever told, but the turn-based combat, colourful world design, and catchy music make for a very memorable adventure you won't soon forget.
Halo Infinite has started up Master Chief's plight once more after 6 years of waiting on the sidelines. The open world design change by 343 had me scratching my head a few times, and the story does fall short of expectations. But rest assured, the Fast and Furious gunplay is just as exciting as you'd expect. The grapple shot in particular is pure hype, and has so many practical applications it'll make your head spin. Hijacking enemy vehicles? Check. Forcing back a Jackal shield? Check. Anime punching enemies to death? Triple check.
It took us 5 minutes to realise that Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart was going to be a Game of the Year contender. When you think about how long it's been since a new Ratchet & Clank title has been released, as well as the fact that Insomniac decided to dip their toes back into the water, it just leaves you wanting so much more. That story. Some may call it generic, I call it perfect. It is arguably the best way to pick up the Ratchet & Clank franchise again. I mean, how can the antagonist not be Dr. Nefarious? It just makes so much sense. This planet-hopping adventure does an amazing job of easing you in, all the while bringing back each and every beloved character from the series, before dragging you into a brand new, rift-ripping story. Not to mention the seamless introduction of the absolutely awesome heroine, Rivet. And the best part is, this game opens the way for more Ratchet & Clank titles in the future. The gameplay is just so epic. In keeping some of the iconic old school weaponry alongside a whole new set of gadgets, it ends up resulting in a perfect blend of chaotic fun. It's as if Insomniac grabbed the best parts from the series and curated them into a tailor-made Ratchet & Clank experience. It all feels so familiar. At the same time, they've done away with the minigames to add in a new and adorably lovable character by the name of Glitch. These little sections of gameplay are incredible, by the way. What's not to like about playing as a little robot with machine guns shooting at viruses? And let's not forget about the same old classic boss battles, speeder-like races, and new little rift pockets that take you into these dreamlike sections for extra gear. The whole package is astounding. Lastly, the visuals are what pushes Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart above the rest. It is stunning. To achieve these incredible graphics with absolutely seamless transitions from cutscenes to gameplay is awe-inspiring. How can you look at the textures of a Lombax's fur or the details of their eyes and not fall in love with this game? There is so much to admire about Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Insomniac Games have nailed that balance between pleasing old vets and new fans. And I, for one, cannot wait to see what they do next.
Guys, if you want to check out the individual in-depth reviews of each game on this list, take a look in the description for all those links. Thanks so much for subscribing and for continually watching our videos throughout the year. It really means a lot to us and really helps us grow, which in turn gives us more opportunities to make more content for you guys. We'll be back in full swing around mid-January though, so you won't have to wait too long for our regular videos to start back up. Hope you all enjoy your holidays, be sure to catch up on that massive backlog of games, and we'll see you guys in 2022. Ciao!